So, hello everyone, and good evening to all of you. Hope you all are doing well. I welcome you all to this AMS by RECursion, the official programming community of NIT Durgapur. Today we have as our guest Mr. Mohit Marwari, an NIT Durgapur alumnus of the year 2016. Mr. Mohit was a standout among the talented group of students who began their journey as an IT undergraduate in NIT Durgapur in 2012. During his undergraduate days, he qualified for ACM ICPC regionals. He worked as a software engineer at Zynga for 6 months before he went to pursue his master's degree in computer science from Stony Brook University, USA in 2018. He has intern experience as a software engineering intern at Amazon Web Services. He thereafter worked at Microsoft as software engineer too for about 1.5 years. He is currently working as a software engineer at Google, Sunnyvale, California, United States, and has been working there for more than 2 years now. So, Mr. Mohit, now I would request you to say a few lines about your journey till now before we can move further with the session.
Yeah, thanks, Sujal. So hi everyone. So I'm Mohit and I graduated from the 2016 batch of NIT Durgapur in Department of Information Technology. So far my journey. So my journey in college was pretty memorable. 4 years just went by, passed, and I didn't even realize it. So I also started my coding journey like most of you have already started. So I didn't have any previous prior background on coding or in high school or anything like that. So I also started coding fresh out of my first year only. Um, and then during my second year and third year, I actually interned at a couple of places during the summer breaks. In second year I interned at a startup called Box, and then third year I interned at Carrot Lane. So both of those internship were related to application development. And at the final year, I had a on-campus placement from FactSet, but I didn't join that. I also had another off-campus placement at a company called Shippable. So that was actually a startup, and it primarily was focused on continuous integration and continuous development platform. So it provided a platform so that other companies they can run their CI/CD work tools on. So I worked there for around 1.5 years in Bangalore, and after that I decided I wanted to to work in a new domain. So I joined Zynga, which is a gaming company, and I worked there for 6 months. So during that time, working at Shippable and Kubernetes, I realized I wanted to study more and explore more in the field of computer science. And at that time, I realized okay, I want to pursue my masters, and I started preparing for that. So I had a couple of admits, but eventually, based on my course interest and everything, I decided I want to join Stony Brook University in New York for my masters in computer science. So over there, I primarily worked on focused my thesis on computer networks and how adaptive bitrate video streaming algorithms work and analyze the performance of all of them. So during my work masters at Stony Brook, I also interned at Amazon. So working at Amazon was also a really good experience for me, and it increased my software development skills a lot. And after graduating of Stony Brook, I had a written offer from Amazon, but I decided I wanted to join Microsoft because the team and the really interested me more there compared to what team I was working at in Amazon. So I worked there for around 1.5 years, and then I joined Google. So currently I'm working as a software engineer in Google for almost 2.5 years now, and I'm working in the Google networking platform. So far uh, working at Google has also been a very good experience for me. And yeah, so that's pretty much about me. So I will just if everyone's okay, I can just take the AMA questions, and I'll try to help everyone in answering most of their doubts. Be it and feel free to ask anything. Be it trying to secure internships, jobs, or planning to apply for masters, and anything apart from that. Yeah.
So, thank you, Mohit Bhaiya, for that. So, now we can start with the AMA or the Ask Me Anything session. This AMA session has been organized to address and clear all your doubts regarding internships, placements, pursuing higher education, working as a software engineer, or any other queries related to the corporate world or anything in general, where Mr. Mohit's vast experience can provide valuable insights. So you guys now can start asking your questions in the chat box, and Mr. Mohit will go through them and answer them one by one. And please don't spam in the chat box, allowing everyone to have a fair chance to participate. So yeah, now we can start with the MA. Over to you, Mohit Bhaiya.
Thanks, Sujay. Yeah, I think like the first question is from Shubhodeep. I think he's asking like, can you share your experience at Google? Yeah, so I actually joined Google in like 2020, um, in sorry 2021 actually. Yeah. So like working at Google has been like a good experience. So like what I currently work in Google is like I work on the Google Cloud Networking organization. So what like basically like what I've been working on Google is mostly on C++, and working at Google has been like a good experience so far. Like so whatever you have heard, like okay, Google has a good coding culture, it's all true. And like Google is like very organized when it comes to like writing good code, uh, testing like whatever code you have written. uh, and yeah, so far like, and in the best part of working at Google is like there are like a lot of smart people that you get to chance to work with. Everyone is like really smart, and like everyone like knows like their domain thoroughly. So yeah, so far like I've enjoyed working in Google so far. And yeah, hopefully like I think like this good experience continues for a longer time also. Yep. and and also like what I've realized is like people are also like very helpful at Google, like be it like managers or like senior level leadership or like anyone. So everyone is like ready to step in like whenever you need something. So especially like when you are starting like a new software engineer at Google, everyone like tries to be really helpful so that you can start onboarding like really quickly, share that experiences, like share experience like what worked for them, what didn't work them for you. And they like basically give you a very good setup, so that you can like easily like succeed at Google. And also like the scale at which Google works is like whatever one what even if you like change a line of code, that needs to be like thoroughly tested, and like you can immediately see like whatever changes that you're making, whatever projects you're delivering, that has like a really good impact on like whatever product that you are working on. And you can see like there are like tons and thousands of people just using them, using your product, and you will find like a very good sense of achievement. Okay, like okay, I'm doing something good. And I think that the end of the day, like that is the thing, one thing that matters the most, like how satisfied with your job and the work you're doing. Yeah, so I think yeah, this is like what I can share like about my experience at Google. And yeah, like moving on to like the next question from Anirban. What skill would you suggest for a new undergrad to learn in this new era of AI? Uh, so I would say like currently like so computer science is like a very evolving field. Like if you think about it, like moving 10 years back, like 10 years back, nobody even knew like there was cloud computing. Like no one had ever heard of like running your workspace or load or data centers on like shared public clouds. So computer science has been like is a very a field which is like advancing like very quickly. Like uh, like 5 years down the line, like there was a lot of hype about like distributed systems or synchronous systems and everything. And currently like the hot topic is like MLAI, so you all of know. So currently like if you're an undergrad and like you want to like start in the field of AI, I would suggest like taking like any courses if like any department if currently in NIT Durgapur is offering. Because I'm not sure, because like when we graduated like from NIT Durgapur, didn't had like any courses on ML or AI. So whatever you had to study, you had to like take courses on your own, or you could like just like start learning everything on your own. So I don't know like currently like if there are any dedicated undergrad courses in ML or AI, but if they are not, there are like a lot of good resources that are readily available. You can like start doing courses on Coursera, or you can like just like read engineering blogs of like various companies. Like right now, like since AI is the hot topic, everyone wants to be a part of it. So like you can find tons of blogs on like uh, various companies pages, like be it like Google, OpenAI, or anything. You can like learn like how they are trying to apply ML or AI into their products. And whatever technologies that you are reading about them, you can just like read on them on the internet, or you can like find a good source or a good mentor who can like willing to help you. So that one should be like a good starting point. And uh, and reiterate it, like MLAI is like currently the hot topic. And if you like think about moving 5 years down the line from now, there is going to be something else. Because right now, like everyone is talking about MLAI. So once like you have all this MLAI new thing coming in, you have like new avenues also opening up. So you want to like deploy the infrastructure of how this MLAI models are going to perform. So that's a new thing. Another thing which will open up is like you have this MLAI models, you need like specific GPUs, new GPUs which needs to be designed so that we can run this MLAI models on. So that is also a new avenue. So it's like with MLAI, there are also like a ton of other avenues also opening up in computer science. We also want like because like everything is like training model asynchronously. That is also not like a new solved problem. So there are like tons of other things that also open up when one new field comes. So you can just like learn about it and just even if you are more, suppose if you are more interested in hardware, you can just study about more about like GPUs, like how GPUs there people are evolving, like how the GPUs are getting evolved, what more advancement can be done on that. So I think for a new undergrad, I think this is like a good way you can start doing and like start going through all the courses. Just get your basics right. And if you like are really interested, then what people generally do is they go for like higher studies on that specific field. So if people are really interested, they directly go to PhD in MLAI. Although like to go directly to PhD, you need to have like good research papers before getting published before you can apply for PhD or getting into a good college which has a good PhD course offering. But otherwise, like you can also like do a master's, and if you do a master's, like it will just basically build up on what you have currently also learned. And masters, like there will be like you will be getting a lot of hands-on experience also, like doing a lot of projects related to ML, AI, or something. And also like if you don't plan to like go for higher study, you can also like anyways, like there are a lot of open source projects on GitHub. You can try to fork it, or you can just try to contribute to that, or you can just like start from very basic and just like make a very small machine learning model which is just like classifying something, right? You can always do that. So I think for new undergrads, I think like staying up to date and like just seeing what you need to do in AI field, I think this is like a good approach maybe. Uh, yeah, okay. So yeah, moving to the next question. I think it's from Shubham. I think it's like how the work culture of Microsoft is different from Google. So like speaking from personal experiences, because I work more at both Microsoft and Google, and I'm not like trying to compare the two companies or like it's just like a personal opinion, and I don't want to like reflect on like the company's policies or anything. But I think like the work culture in US is like pretty similar in like most of the companies. Like people are like very respectful about your personal life, and like they will try to not ping you after office hours. So people generally like step into the office at a typical days. How it looks of a software engineer looks in the US is like people step into the office at like 9 a.m. and they will be like checking out around 5 p.m. or something. So once you have like ended your day, people are very respectful. They're not going to ping you after office hours unless it's like absolutely critical. And people are generally also respectful that okay, like once office done, you are able to like properly detach from work. So I think like this thing was like very similar between like working at Microsoft and Google. So I have an incident. So like when I was working at Microsoft, like because at that time COVID had just started and everyone was like going remote. And so once everyone was getting remote, like people didn't had much to do, so that people had a tendency of like also working after office hours. So in Microsoft, like I had a like my one-on-ones with my manager, and they noticed that okay, I was like working after office hours also, and he's like suggested try to detach from work. So that, I think that is one like good point which I have noticed in working in US, and I think the same thing applies for Google as well. Um, they give actually good emphasis on like your work-life balance, and they don't try to like overwhelm you with work outside the office hours. If it's absolutely very critical, then you might get called or paged in. But that's like in my 2.5 years of journey, this has never happened. So I think, but this is just my personal opinion and not like the company's policies, opinions, or reflection on that. But I feel this is just like the way work culture is in like in US. Okay. So next question from Pavan. Sir, can you describe your placement generally, especially during regarding off campus? Okay, so off-campus placement, so I will like answer this question in like two parts. So one part is like finding an off. I'll just start like finding an off-campus job like in India first. Uh, so like I said, I had like an on-campus job from Facside when I was like in NIT in my final year. Um, so that was like pretty straightforward. Like companies come in, like you sit for interviews, and like they have all like how on campus placement was, right? So regarding off campus, that was like not really like straightforward. So for off campus, like I didn't apply to many companies, but I had like done my research on like what some good companies are, and I had like a bias of like joining a startup initially. Uh, so uh, what I did was like I like applied to a lot of big company. I shortlisted a like list of companies that I wanted to work on, and I like also did a good research on like what companies, what startup, because at that time like there were a lot of startups coming in. So I did a thorough research of like okay, which are the good startups, which are like the things that they are working on and everything. So once like I created that list, I started applying them by one. So I applied it like around 30, 40 companies, and trust me, like I didn't get like off campus calls more than two. Uh, so off campus is like this was like my experience like applying off campus in India. And also like after working there for 1.5 years, like getting a call I found was much easier if you have like some work experience in India, because companies like they directly reach out to you in LinkedIn or something like that. Now coming to off-campus placement in USA, so in USA, like there's no concept of like on-campus placement or anything. Like suppose if you're studying in your college, if you want to do your internship or search for full-time jobs, you have to do everything on your own. So of course, like we have some career fairs which are being organized by the college, but that is like more of a networking event. Like companies will come, the HRs will come, and they will just like basically like try to get your background, your prior work experience, what are you currently doing in your studies right now. So what if there is a good fish, they will like just share you a link and they will ask you to apply. And this thing goes like and in the career fair, like around like there are like 200, 300 people like simultaneously fighting for like the same spots, because there are like a very handful of openings like, during career fairs. So all those resumes with which really stand out, they directly like send them for interviews, but that is like very rare. So you start applying to all those links, and if you are lucky, you will get like an interview call, because there are like 200 applicants just for like five openings. So it's like pretty rare to get an interview call directly from career fair. So the best way to apply on off-campus placement in abroad, you have to just like keep on applying, and you will also like try to get build your connections on LinkedIn so that you can ask other people to like refer you. Referrals like do stand out sometimes, but it's not an absolute must. Uh, so off campus in US is like slightly more rigorous, I would say, than compared to India, because in India like most of the batch is already placed during on campus, and they are like not much interested in like applying in off campus also. I think like this is like my personal experience. Uh, Moving on to the next question from Vedant. Can you please tell me more about your competitive programming journey? Yeah, so I started like competitive programming during my second year of college. So initially started from code chef and everything. Uh, and then what happened was I started like so Code Chef they had like this monthly contest, I think, I believe at that time. So there were like around 10 questions and you had to like solve as many of you can like over the weekend. So I initially started like competitive programming from this contest only. So initially like I was not that great in competitive programming. I was only able to like get two or three maybe initially. But working on like starting competitive programming, like I really got interested towards coding. Like I didn't think like I was that interested into coding in my like first year, and I was like not pretty sure like if I am going to take this as a career or not moving forward. So I initially planned I'll maybe like after graduation in I might do an MBA or anything. But when I started competitive programming second year, like that is when I really started got interested like in coding or in DSC and everything. So initially like my approach was like when I started competitive programming as a code chef, like I was not able to do much. I was hardly like I was able to do two or three, and those two and three were like cakewalk problems. Like everyone used to get them. So then what I used to do, then I started like spending more hours like working on spots and all those other resources, and I started doing competitive programming. I daily I like used to make an aim that I'm going to practice two or three questions a day, and I just started doing that. So gradually, like when I was like completing my second year, moving to third year, I was able to get solve more problems in contest. So gradually, like my confidence also increased, and I kept on uh, and I kept on like improving on my coding skills. So at that time during my third year, I think mid third year or something, uh, then I applied for like we formed a team. So my roommates and some other friends, we formed a team and we applied for ACM ICPC. So we cleared like the first round and we also made it to like the regional round in Gwalior. Um, so so I would say for competitive programming, the most important thing is like being patient, because initially you're not going to get everything. Competitive programming actually takes time and patience and like a lot of hard work and patience. I would reiterate on patience, because initially like when you are going to start with competitive programming, I'm very sure like most of you are going to get like TLEs on hard problems or wrong answer or something. It's just about like uh, make making sure like you stay focused, you don't get irritated or just don't give up. Just try to focus on it and just see like how it works, because competitive program is nothing but let's say problem solving. And what you want to basically do is like make sure you are able to like improve your problem solving skills. So I think that's what like my journey about competitive programming has been. And I think like yeah, yeah, moving to the next question. What is the scope of competitive programming today's world? So I would say like competitive programming is like not like the most important thing that you need to do. So what competitive programming actually helps us is like it basically like opens up your mind basically in the world of coding. So it also improves your problem solving skills. So in computer science, like it's not about like okay, if you are a good coder you're going to make it big, right? You need to like study a lot of stuff, be patient about everything. And competitive program is just like a way to just improve your coding skills. So of course like whatever you learn in competitive programming is not necessary everything is going to apply to your job, right? So but whatever you learn like your experience like debugging, uh, learning about new data structures, everything, all those aspects you are going to like carry forward in your job. So it's like competitive programming is important, but you shouldn't like make that your only aim, that okay I want to be a good coder only. You have to like become a good developer at the end of the day. So competitive programming just helps to like improve your coding skills. And I've seen like a lot of people like asking like if I'm not a good coder, what happens? So it doesn't matter if even if you are not like a good in competitive programming. It's just like you have to like try to improve your problem solving skills, because that's what important. Even if you like go for interviews like at big companies or like even like small startups, what they are really interested in to know is like how you approach a problem, how you are able to discuss things like with the interviewer, like how you're able to work in a group. That's like the more important thing. It doesn't matter if you're less do are able to do like only a handful of sums in like competitive programming contest compared to people who are like just acing it. So that's not the end of the day. It's just like it gives you a good head start, and it basically like just opens up your mind in the world of coding. Um, okay, so ID saying, what do you mean by prompt engineering? So I think like I'm not like very familiar with it, but I think like it's prompt engine is mostly like a technique used in AI. It is like actually used to like optimize or like fine tune parameters for some language modules, and so I think like I think like that's what I know about like prompt engineering. Like I haven't worked much on that because like I'm mostly from a systems background now, but I just have like an overview. Uh, and what's the next question? How to do preparation for MS and CS? Yeah, so I will like focus my answer on like preparation for MS and CS in US, because that's what I have like good knowledge on. Um, so yep. So yeah, so when I like did completed my undergraduate, I didn't like had a strong preference that I want to like uh, do my masters or like I don't want to do my masters. Like I had like a very fairly open mind, and I was undecided basically. So when I was like when I started working at Shippable and I was 6 months into the job, then I realized like okay, I want to study more, and I want to study more about core computer science. And so then I gradually started preparing for my masters. So like preparation for masters is like a long process. So I'll discuss in detail. So like the first step in like in preparation for masters is like a training for your GRE and TOEFL. So GRE is basically you can say like there are two in GRE there are like two aspects. Like, one is like your quantitative abilities and one is like your reading ability or basically your English testing ability, right? So so GRE like you need to like spend some time on it. So quantitative like if, anything like related to maths, probability, I think most of people they are able to do. But the main challenge comes in like is the English section, because in GRE like most of the people uh, they actually struggle because you need to like spend a lot of time in like practicing a lot of like paragraph reading, or you need to practice a lot of on your uh, grammar related stuff. So that takes a little bit of time. So for GRE, once you so people like generally ask like what's a good score in GRE. So there's like not a exact number. So GRE is just like one aspect. It doesn't matter like if so GRE is like actually of 340. So it doesn't matter if you get a 310 or you get a 330. 310 is like a average to moderate good score. 330 is a very good score, but I've seen people like even like people with like 310 getting into good colleges and people with 330 not making the same college. So GRE and TOEFL are just like one aspect to that. So once you have like cleared your GRE and TOEFL, the most important thing in like masters, applying for masters in US, is a statement of purpose. So in statement of purpose is basically like a letter, it's basically a two-page letter, basically where you explain like what has been your journey so far, what interests you in computer science, what interests you to do a master's in computer science, and what interests you to do a master's in computer science from this particular college only. So in this is the most important part of like applying for masters. Every college applicant who applies for a master's, the review committee is going to read your SOP first. So once they read your SAP, they will get a fair, good knowledge. Okay, what you have done previously and why do you want to pursue your masters? So I would say like give the most weightage on your SOP and spend like a substantial amount of time in like writing it thoroughly, making a lot of iterations. And also like if you know someone, people, many people who are already doing their masters, or already done their masters, it's a good idea to just send them out and just get their opinion. Okay, what should I improve that? Because this letter is really important. This letter basically decides okay you're whether you're going to get into admission into a good college or not. So once you have this statement of letters sorted out, your GRE and TOEFL given. And TOEFL is like also like an English speaking because like India is not a natively an English speaking country. So all those countries like US, Canada, Australia, they want like English proficiency exam. So that is TOEFL. So in TOEFL is basically like it just like tests your reading ability, your listening abilities in English, and also your speaking abilities. So TOEFL is also like pretty much straightforward. So once you have your GRE, TOEFL, and your SOP sorted out, the next phase is like moving out to your previous college or like previous employers to get letter of recommendations. So most colleges they want actually want like at least three letter of recommendations, and it's preferred like if you keep like uh, if you have to submit three letters, then if you give two letters from your previous college or academia, and one letter if you have some work experience, you can get a work experience letter from your manager stating that okay, you have good abilities and you might be a good fit for your um, masters. So once you have those letter of recommendation sorted, SOP, GRE, TOEFL done, then you start applying to colleges. So generally, like people apply to like a lot of colleges, and people like sort in their colleges which are applying to tiers. So it's like the tier one is like a very ambitious college. A very ambitious college, it can be like any other college, right? Where you think you might not get it, but you still want to apply there, right? Then you apply, sort your colleges bucket into like moderately ambitious. It's like it is gettable, but it's slightly ambitious. Then you also try to play it safe, and you try to apply to colleges also like which you are sure you're going to get for sure based on your profile. So once you like shortlist all these colleges and apply, like generally people apply to 10, 8 colleges. So once you like apply to all of these colleges, then you just wait for the decision. Now, once you come to your decision, suppose you get 10 out of, suppose you apply to 10, you got into 4 or 5 colleges. So now, based on the 4 and 5 colleges that you get, now you will try to decide, okay, which colleges suit me the best. You look at like the academic profile of that college. Like, is this college good in systems? Is this college good in like MLAI? What is this college good in? If you are more interested in a particular field and that college doesn't have good courses or good professors working that field, then it's not a good idea to apply there, because eventually you will like not enjoy studying there. Then another important aspect is like a lot of people don't account for is like the weather and the climate of where the college applies. It's not a, like a absolute necessary, but that is also like an important thing, because in people in India they're mostly like suited to like staying in temperate climates, but in US like there are some places which can be really cold, and there are people that which start getting like health issues during the winter especially. So you also want to like look into that. And other you will, then a lot of like other monetary factors also come in, like what is like the tuition of those colleges, like how expensive is the living, how expensive is the rent and everything. So once you like shortlist everything and then you finalize, okay, this is the college which I want to go, then you uh, reject the other offers that you have from other colleges, and you just decide to go. So once you have sorted everything, this college shortlisting everything, and you decide, okay, I'm going to go for master, that is the time when you start applying for your visa. So once you have like a visa sorted out, you get your student visa for the US, then you start apply, then you just start planning and you start coming here. So this is like the entire journey for um, uh, how masters in CS in US works. Okay, so next question is from Praneeth. Did you think about any startup of your own during your college days? So I didn't like start thinking about like opening my own startup during my college days. So my personal opinion was like I wanted to spend like a couple of years in the industry. I wanted to understand like what are the solutions which are really easily available, and what are some missing gaps, because when you try to open a startup you basically try to address the missing gaps in what currently in industry doesn't have. So that is why like my initial plan was not to like just start a college right out of college, but gradually like spend some time in some many years in the industry and then like come with any startup idea and work on it. Because like once you like also work in the industry, you also get a good experience of like understanding things, how things work, how a company works, like what are the different aspects of like running a company. So that was like my thinking of starting my own startup during college days. So next question is from Neetu. Can you please guide us about off-campus internships? Yeah, so off-campus internship, like, so when I personally like was applying for internships at NIT, so what I did, like, I made a list of companies which actively hires interns. So what I did was like I went through a lot of LinkedIn profiles of my seniors and and try to analyze like what are the companies where my seniors have interned it previously. Then I also like looked at some uh, blog posts or something like who on and try to come up with company names which like actively hires interns. So once like I had like all of this companies list, I just started like applying there to their careers pages. And for some companies, I also like try to reach out to their HR or like any other person like who was working there so that they can send me a referral. So this is like how I like actually like uh, was trying to find an off-campus internship. So eventually, when I like at the end of my second year when when I interned at Cooper Box, so I didn't know about that company. So I knew like someone from my batch, he got an offer from that. So from there I came to know okay, there's this company who's actually also hiring interns. So based on that, I applied on that. And for Carrot Lane, like I knew that company because Box and Carrot Lane are both like e-commerce value website. So when I was working at Box, I knew okay, there's another player in the same segment, and it was Carrot Lane. And since I also had worked at Box, I think that was a good match, and I was able to easily like secure an internship or basically get an interview call. Because at the end of the day, like the most challenging part about like getting an off-campus internship is first getting an interview call. So because once you have an interview call, then you can like showcase your skills during the interviews. But the most challenging part is getting an interview call. So this is like how I went about my off-campus internships. Uh, so next question from Jyoti. I am from civil engineering department second year to switch my career. What should I prepare for? Gate CSE or placement? Uh, so so basically like this question is like should I go for higher studies or should I just like sit for college placements if I am from civil, right? So so I think like basically it depends like what you want to do. So if you are in like civil department, uh, is computer science is what that you want to do for the rest of your career? If the answer is yes, there's always a good option of like pursuing uh, masters at a later age. So now people they are like confused like should I just go do my masters? It can be like in India, USA, anything just after graduation or like just after working in a few years in the industry. So I think like that point it like comes to a personal choice and like what the external factors are, because right now like uh the in the market scenario, right, the like trying to find a job in this market is not very easy because there's a lot of recession that's coming in. So at current point, is this a good point to directly go for placements? I'm not sure because it's really hard to find a good job. So I think eventually it boils down like what do you want to do and what do you want to prioritize first. It doesn't matter if you like do your masters like 3 years down the line or you do your master just immediately after doing your undergrad. So it's basically comes down to you like what do you want to do, and making a career switch like from any department is not that hard these days. Even if like because I know like there are many colleges, suppose if you want to switch fields and if you want to do a master's in different field, so basically they will give you a conditional admit. So that conditional admit says that because since your undergrad was not in this field of study, so they will basically tell you along with doing your masters you also have to make sure that you complete some prerequisite course of undergrad of that field that you're studying. So it does so making a career switch is not at all that difficult. You just have to like it's still possible and everyone does that. It's not like a big deal. But deciding what do you want to do just after college, like just after undergraduating higher studies or placement, I think it comes down to like your personal preference, like what do you exactly want to do and what do you think will better suit your career. uh yeah. So next question is from Tanisha. Can you guide me on the path on if you do masters, what kind of roles one can get in a product-based companies, work and average pay compared to undergraduate? Um, so I think like So yeah, so even if like if you do a master's, suppose like I'm assuming like you're planning to do your master's in computer science. So if you're planning to do your master's in computer science, like uh, you are going to get like basically a software engineering role only. Uh, so work and average pay, I think that depends. So like work and average pay is like talking about India. Uh, if you have like more experience, your compensation will reflect according to like what you have done previously, from where you have completed your masters, undergrad, and like what's your prior work experiences. So a person who is like, you're definitely going to make more than a person who is like just completing his undergraduate and just starting as a fresher in the industry, right? So 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 right now, like there are like a lot of computer sciences roles. So people are doing jobs are opening up in computer engineering. There are jobs opening up in data science as a data scientist. The traditional computer so software developer roles that are there. So I think like unless you have like a very specific thing that you have done your masters in, if you haven't done that, if you've done a very specific thing in your masters, then your next job will reflect that. Suppose you have like spend a lot of time just doing research on ML or AI, so your next job, whatever you are trying to do, you'll preferably try to apply for a machine learning engineer or a machine learning scientist or a data scientist, right? Now if you do your masters in like a systems course like networking or OS or something, then you will still get like a good systems engineer role or a good software developer role in a particular system domain, right? So so I think it depends on like what you do your masters in. So the big umbrella is still going to be a software developer, but it's going to be a like a specific thing of software engineering that you're going to work on. You're not like, you won't, if you do your masters or thesis in something, you won't want to also do a job that is less application development. You want to do something which is like more computer science or more catered towards like what you have done your masters in. So yeah, and pay, and I think work and average pay, I think that all depends on like your current market scenarios and like what your prior work experience and your prior research experiences. So your compensation is always going to like reflect that. So I would say not to worry much about on the pay aspect, because that those things will just fall up in place if you are like talented enough. So yeah, the next question is like how much competitive programming helps in bragging of uh, so I wouldn't say it's bragging as such. It's just a good thing. So competitive program is like a good thing to have in your resume. It showcase, okay, like this particular. So if you write, so it just showcase basically like, okay, you are sincere in your college days. You are trying to do something. Uh, you are active in your college life, right? You are not just like doing coursework, good getting good grades, and that's the end of this. So that's like a good addition to it. Uh, so, so how like competitive programming basically helps in my experience is like, suppose like you apply for off-campus internship. Suppose if you have like two resumes, the one resume is like all good coursework, all good grades, and other is also like good coursework, good grades, and you have like something extra. It can be like competitive programming, or you have done some development experience or something like that. So if you want to give a call, you obviously want to give a call which is like more all round resume, right? So this is where like competitive programming like helps you a little bit, but it's not the most important thing that you want in your resume. There are like a lot of other things also that you can have in your resume. You can like contribute to open source. You have done some like you have participated in GSOC, or you are like active in like other volunteering activities and other tech conferences, something. So it's just like one of the things like how you want to showcase, okay, like I'm doing something extra for my coursework. So I think competitive programming is just that. And also like competitive programming, the other advantage is like uh, it also like, since it helps improving your coding skill, ideally like if a person like who is very much involved in competitive programming to a person is not that involved in competitive programming, I would expect like like cracking a technical coding interview for a person who is like very involved in computer programming will be easier compared to person who has not, because you are doing that stuff for a lot of time now, so you know like how to approach a problem, like how to think of like all the corner cases, all the edge cases. So I think this is where like competitive program will help you like slightly in off-campus opportunities. Okay, so next question is from Ashok. How was your first day at Google? What was the reaction? Okay, so my first day of college, working at Google was like I was working remote, so I didn't like. So 1 year basically like. So Google also like opened their offices like 1 year ago. So for the first 6 7 months of like joining Google, I was working remote. So I didn't met anyone face to face because the entire campus was closed because of COVID. And but talking about my first experience, since everything was remote, I didn't experience like any issues like in getting started or getting onboarded. Everything was very smooth. Like all hardware related stuff, they were delivered to my place like weeks in advance, so that like I have a smooth transition. And the first day was basically like just meeting with your manager, like introducing yourself to your teammates virtually, and just like doing a lot of paperwork and starting with all the Googler training sessions. So so that was my experience. So when offices did reopen up, uh, the first reaction was like because everyone were like working remote, and again it was like a new transition for them, working in office. And right now everything is hybrid, so it's a mix of working in office and working off campus. But I think like yeah. Um, First at Google, yeah, it was like all remote, sitting in front of your laptop and just talking to your new teammates and everyone. Please avoid a prompt engineering. I think yeah, someone just asked about prompt engineering. Yeah, I think like I know it's like there are like some teams there, but I'm not exactly sure what exact teams work in this. So maybe like I just like look into this, and maybe like I can like Naresh, you can just ping me on LinkedIn or email or something. Okay, how much of DSA is sufficient to get on-campus internships? Um, so, so how much of DSA is like it's difficult to quantify, right? So if you are an intern, you are expected like you must have a little bit of understanding, a basic understanding of like what an array is, what a linked list is, what a trees are, what a graphs are. People won't expect you to like code a red black tree. The people won't expect you to just write complicated uh, algorithms of graphs, right? People don't expect you to do that, but a basic knowledge of DSA is required. And what people generally, because since you don't have any work experience in internships, so what people try to actually see is like, because you don't have like a prior work experience to showcase, or so basically they just want to share how you like approach or solve a problem, right? That's like the most important thing where people look for on campus internships. And also like they will give you like a pretty open and I'm not sure like how it happens now, but they will just give you like a coding problem, and they will just see like how you are using the data structure that you know. It doesn't need to be like a very complicated data structure that you need to know, okay, that you need to know this complicated data structure. They will just try to see how you're using all the basic data structures and how you're building your problem to solve that problem. So I think like the more you know is better, but there is like a basic expectation, okay, you must know this much. So like basics is like, okay, you must know what a stack and queue is. So I think this is what people won't expect you to know what a try is. They might forgive you for that, but they might not forgive you if you don't know what a linked list is. So I think like basic of DSA is required. Okay, so next question is English communication necessary to get a call? So basically, like it doesn't matter that you have to be proficient in speaking English. The only thing matters is like you're basically able to convey your thoughts. You're basically able to understand what the other person is saying, and you're trying to have a good conversation with it. So I think this is like proficiency is not important. The way you communicate, the way you interact, I think that is more important. So this is what like all other good companies also look at, like how you're able to work in a group of people. Like you don't want to be too arrogant, or you don't want to be too shy and not speak anything. You have to like be proactive, and you have to like be able to express your thoughts very clearly. I think this is why like um, not proficiency is not required, but good communication skills is required. I think the next question is also the same. Does the quality of your code matter in coding interviews? Yes, it does matter. So you don't want to like so basically also like in coding interview, like whenever you are doing a coding exercise, so basically you are writing code and the other person is trying to understand like what you are trying to write. So over there you don't want to like just like have some vague variable lines. For example, you don't want to like start, okay, int I is this, int j is that, int k is this, int x is this. So if you are writing a long code, at the end of the day, it is possible that you will be, even though you are doing everything right, it is possible like the interviewer is not able to follow your thoughts or is not able to write the code because your variable names is like very messed up, or you are writing like code which is unnecessary long, unnecessary for loop, if loop. If you try to like convolute your code or try to make your code more complicated, I think uh, there's a high chance like the interviewer, even though you have done everything right, the interviewer didn't follow everything. So the best is like just to write concise code, and whatever code you write, try to, even if you write a line of code, take a pause and explain to it, okay, what this line of code will do, this will do this. Then you write the next code, like couple of lines, then you explain, okay, this particular block is going to do this. So this is like it's going to help you and the interviewer, because the interviewer needs to know how you're thinking. So you have to also give him something to explain, okay, this is what I am thinking, this is what I'm trying to do. So I think, yeah, the quality of code matters to some extent. How to develop problem solving. So I think like to develop problem solving skills, it doesn't necessarily, so coding is like a good thing, like competitive programming and all those people talk about. That is a good thing to solve your problem solving skills. And another thing which also helps to like grow your aptitude is like solving a lot of puzzles. So those puzzles can be anything. It can be like normal cognitive based problems. It can be like so I think along with coding, if you do anything which exercises your mind, you're going to improve your problem solving skills. So it doesn't necessarily have to be technical. You can like solve you can basically also solve a crossword. That also helps to improve your problem solving skills and everything, right? Uh, so next question is like how much open source matter for, so yeah, like I said, like open source, it's a good addition to your resume, but it is not the most important thing. Of course, like if you're applying to a startup, and if that startup is like working where you have already contributed a lot, so that startup is going to be very interested in you. Even for that matter, large company, if you have done something which is like very much related to that, that's going to add some value. But uh, but if you think about big companies, they don't especially want you to contribute to open source, because if you work at a good company, there's a high chance like whatever open source technology is there, that company has their internal implementation of that particular thing, and that might be better. And this happens like if you work for companies like in the industry, you will notice like you will be having some internal implementation of a very famous open source which is more scalable and more reliable than the open source right? So, securing on-campus internship is like more. Uh, if you have like good things to showcase, it just basically adds more weight to your resume, and it basically helps you to stand out in getting an interview call. At the end of the day, like whatever the requirements of the company are, they are going to ask you that only during your interviews. But I think like it adds some value just to your resume. It's not like absolute necessary, because I've seen people who have no prior experience of open source. Even for that matter, I haven't done much contribution to open source, but I was able to like land an internship. So I think this thing goes for both on campus and off campus, right? It gives you some weightage, but it's like not the end of the day if you don't have it. Uh, so next question is from Bhanu. For off campus, companies are focusing on which skills? How does AI will affect our placement, and to compete AI, which portions we should work on? Yeah, so like I said, like if you're trying to apply for a very small scale startup, they are basically trying to they will 9 out of 10 times they're going to put a lot of more weightage on your like development experience than your competitive programming experience, because at the end of the day, as startup, they cannot afford you to give you time to ramp up or be updated like with the latest technology. So what they want is like a person who is just able to like just start from day one. So for startups, I think it's just like a small startup, mid-scale size startup. The most important thing they're looking for is your development skills and what you have done in your previous company. For big companies, they are actually looking for uh, how you approach a problem, because they have resources, because once you're joined that company, they will give you time to ramp up with the latest of what they are working on, new technologies, new framework. Now, like, how does AI will affect your placement? So it's like, with all the advancements recently in the AI, I think, since AI is a hot topic, and like I mentioned earlier, like, people, there are going to be like other avenues in AI also opening up. You want like new infrastructure to deploy these MLAI models. You need new GPUs. So along with AI, there are other fields also opening up, right? So there are like, if you follow the news, you must have heard like NVIDIA GPUs, their demand has skyrocketed because everyone wants to try MLAI models. So it's like, AI will have an effect. It will have an effect on like some automation or let's say some mundane tasks, but it's also going to open up like other aspects of technology. So it's just basically like keeping an eye on like what interests you the most, and you can just start working. If you're like interested in more core MLAI, then you can just like read about like statistics, like how the models are deployed, like how a neural network works on, right? So this is like how you can like build upon like what you want to do. Yeah, I think like we are out of time, so I'll just take like a last question. I think like the next question of Alexander, I think that problem solving skills is like covered. So I'll just like, how to get referrals for big MNCs. So I think like from personal experience, like to get a referral, like the best thing is like if you know someone working in that company, so you can just basically ask them, because when you ask someone for a referral, the person is uh, applying for a referral. He needs to fill up in a section like, how do you know this person, how well do you know this person, and how would you grade your work? So in some companies that it's mandatory to like write this, and some companies is optional. But if you ask a referral to someone who has previously worked with you, who has a good knowledge about your work, he's going to like uh, basically like give you a stronger referral than you are just shooting out like random LinkedIn messages on referral, right? Because that person, if you just start shooting like random things on LinkedIn, that person might not know your like what your um, company, like what you have worked on, what everything is, right? So this is like what I also felt at Google also. So like what Google referral policy states is like, if you are referring someone, you have to fill in this section like, how do you know this person, how strong work he has done in your field. And once like someone from Google refers you, then within 7 business days, that referred application, it's the policy of the company, the someone from HR will get back to that candidate. It might be a yes, it might be a no, or it might be an interview call or something, but this is like what the company policy at Google says, right? So this is like one company policy which I haven't seen like in other companies. So yeah, yeah. So Sujal, do you want to like me to take more questions, or like
Yeah, Bhaiya, I think we are out of time now. So I think we can wrap the session here.
yeah, I think like if
So
anyone
thank you,
else
Mohit
like,
Bhaiya, very much.
yeah, and also like if anyone
Yes,
else
yes,
like has some
yes,
more
yes.
doubt, feel free to like reach me on LinkedIn or email. So I will like try to like answer like most of your doubts, or if you need like any help in selecting companies or applying for a master's, like I will be like very happy to help you.
Yeah, so thank you, Mohit Bhaiya, very much.
Mm,
The
yeah,
valuable insights from this session.
yeah, it's my
We are
pleasure. Yeah,
sorry that we have to end the session because of the time constraints. But anyone whose questions have not yet been answered, we will share the LinkedIn profile of Mohit Bhaiya. Yeah, definitely. We will share the LinkedIn profile of Mohit Bhaiya with you all. You can definitely ask your question. So with that, I think we can wrap the session. Thank you all who participated. Thank you, Mohit Bhaiya, once again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
My pleasure.
thank you all.
Yeah. Yeah. See you, everyone. Bye.